welcome to episode 35 of the Top 2 Inches Rugby Podcast, brought to you by I Spy Surveys, the go-to specialist survey and inspection company based in Exeter, Devon. So, bank holiday weekend, lots of sun, lots of fun. I hope you are all well and enjoyed your time together. What's coming up on this episode? Ollie will be here once again, as ever, checking in on the latest round of the Gallagher Premiership. We will also look at the final between Harlequins ladies and Saracens ladies from the Allianz Premier 15s. Have Saracens made it the treble? We'll find out. Check in on the Fantasy Rugby. Has Ollie forged further ahead, or have I actually won a week? We'll see what happens. And as ever, Saracens watch. I think they played. I'm not 100% sure, actually. It was too much fun in the sun for me. A little bit burnt, I have to say. And obviously news from the one and only BBC. Anyway, let's crack on with this episode. See how it goes. As I mentioned in the introduction, it was the final of the Allianz Premier 15s between Harlequins and Saracens. Saracens were going for their third consecutive championship victory, and Harlequins obviously were going for their first. Would it be third time lucky for the Quins women? Fantastic game was played down at Kingsholm. I think there was about 1,700 fans in the crowd, which is fantastic. And what a game we were treated to. Harlequins ladies came out of the blocks firing, and I mean guns a-blazing. They knew they had to set the pace early and get on the scoreboard and kind of keep it ticking over, which they did do. Ultimately, as ever, Saracens being the team that they are, they did come back into the game. Harlequins were actually at one stage in the second half left with only 13 players following 2 yellow cards. But ultimately, they managed to hold out, and Harlequins women took the victory away from Saracens. I want to give a special mention to Shona Brown. Her interview for Harlequins after the game was absolutely fantastic. You could clearly see the passion in her chat and basically what it meant to her and also the team. Rachel Burford was taken off through injury, but she hobbled onto the field to lift up the trophy, which was another fantastic achievement for her, being a stalwart at the club. Interesting conversation with Maria Packer after the game. She obviously kind of said that Saracens aren't used to losing and they will refocus for next season. So a staunch attitude from them, and no doubt they will be back next season. What can you say about this season? It's been a fantastic season. It's been a tough one for DMP Durham Sharks, obviously at the bottom of the table. Exeter Chiefs ladies achieving what they did in their first kind of inaugural season in the Allianz Premier 15s. It bodes really well. There's so many talented players out there, so many talented teams, and it is a absolutely fantastic competition which should be promoted more in the kind of game. And yeah, it's just fantastic. So what a game, what an achievement for the Harlequins ladies. They have won the Allianz Premier 15s for the first time in the third attempt at doing so. So well done to them. Okay, so unfortunately, Ollie is not able to join us for this episode, as I did say he would be in the introduction. He is saying that he has a spring/summer cough. I know that it was a bank holiday weekend and he went pretty hard, so I would imagine that he is actually recovering from a 4-day hangover. When you hit 41, it's all downhill from that point. Recovery from hangovers can be really difficult. Anyway, so this possibly will be a bit more of a condensed, less banter episode, but he has been able, from his recovery sofa, send me some information about his thoughts on the Gallagher Premiership and also his predictions for next week. So I'm going to start with the news, and probably the big headline, according to the BBC, is the fact that this weekend's game between the Gloucester and Bath sides has been cancelled because of a number of positive tests for COVID in the Gloucester side amongst the players and the staff. So that is really unfortunate. I guess a Premiership panel will kind of talk about what the allocation of points will be. I think it's kind of, throughout the competition, it's been 4-2. So both teams obviously will get some points from the game. Yeah, I mean, that's just such a shame because that was obviously a West Country derby. Personally, I think Gloucester would have probably put Bath away, but obviously Ollie's going to be happy that he's picked up some points, but hopefully all the players and staff that are involved will be okay and nobody is, seriously ill with that. But obviously they've got to carry on with what Public Health England says, and obviously the Premiership Rugby, and the game's off. Massive shame. I thought we had sort of seen the back end of games being cancelled. What else is on the news? Wasps in England flyer Paolo Adogwu has torn his cruciate ligament. He is going to be, that was in the game against Northampton, going to be on the sidelines for a spell while he recovers. I mean, that is a massive shame for him, especially with the summer internationals coming up. I would imagine that he would have kind of featured quite heavily in Eddie Jones's plan for the summer. So hopefully he will get back from his injury quickly and get back on the playing field. That is a massive shame for him and for England, really. Next piece of news, Eddie Jones. What's Eddie up to? Eddie Jones wants fresh, energetic players for the 2023 World Cup. He's looking to unearth some fresh talent in the games against USA and Canada, and also the England A team, who will be facing Scotland A in June. He's going to be naming his squad on Thursday, the 10th of June. And obviously, with 11 players away with the British and Irish Lions, it's going to be looking like a different squad. So we will look forward to seeing what Eddie kind of comes up with in the next week or so. If you have any kind of thoughts on who you'd like to see in the up-and-coming England team, let me know. Let us know on Twitter or on Instagram. That'd be fantastic. Just having a little look around. Was there any other news? Oh, yeah, Bath hooker Batty. He's had to retire. Ollie did mention this to me earlier on in the week. Why has he had to retire? He's got neck injuries. That's a massive shame. Quality player for Bath. Let's just have a look. 170 appearances for the blue, black and whites. But he has been advised by specialists that he can't carry on and he has to put his health before obviously rugby. So another sad loss, especially with the, obviously we reported last week, the lad from Irish whose name has completely gone out of my head, has had to retire because of concussion. Massive shame, a few quality players having to kind of hang up their boots early doors. Was there any other news that we want to have a little chat about? Matt Avesi's extended his contract at Northampton. That's good news for him. Good news for them. Blair's picked 17 uncapped players for the summer test for Scotland. Who has he picked? Rufus McLean, Ross Thompson, Luke Crosby, Charlie Shield. Oh, Josh Bayliss from Bath. He's got in there. Ewan Ashman-Assail. He's got in there. So, yeah, they've got games coming up against Romania and Georgia on the 10th and 17th of July. So an interesting, obviously Gregor Townsend is away with the Lions. Mike Blair has been given the opportunity to try his hand at coaching on an international level. So, yeah, good for him. Anyway, that is off with the news, and let's crack on with the Gallagher Premiership. Okay, so there were two games on Friday night. The first one being between Gloucester and London Irish, which finished 30-28. Really tight affair. Gloucester were behind in the first half, 25-19, but came through to take the victory in the end. So a fantastic result for them. Obviously, as I've already mentioned, unfortunately, this weekend's game with Bath is going to be cancelled, so they can't continue their good kind of form in the league. Tries from Carreras, Hines, Moyle, Rees-Sammett, Rona, Goodrich-Clark and Tuisi for London Irish. I really enjoyed this game. I thought it was two good teams kind of going at it. I think possibly overall Irish potentially should have taken this game. I thought they were the more kind of consistent team over the 80 minutes, but you can't write off Gloucester, especially at home. And yeah, really good game, really enjoyed watching. But possibly the big game on Friday night was obviously the game between Bristol and Sale. And Ollie has sent me some information or his thoughts on this game. He said it was a seriously physical contest, which Sale managed to go the full 80 minutes on to win the game. he feels they've made a bit of a statement, and it's a bit of a worry for Bristol at this stage of the competition. I quite agree with Ollie on that one. I mean, the first half, I think, finished 0-0. But in the second half, in the first half, Sale's defence was just, magnificent. And like Ollie said, I didn't necessarily see them kind of maintaining that for the whole 80 minutes, but they managed to. And I think the kind of purple patch for them was when Randrandra was sort of sin-binned for a high tackle, I think it was, and really got Sale at that point pushed home the extra man advantage. I agree. I think it is a bit of a worry for Bristol, especially as, they potentially could get Sale at home. Could be a different story at Ashton Gate. And obviously, they'd be more kind of up for it. No, I'd imagine they were up for this game, to be fair. I mean, just hats off to Sale. They're really putting it on. We got to see Tuolangi back. He came on in the 48th minute, made quite an impact. A fantastic result for Sale. Interesting one for Bristol to kind of think over and obviously come up with a different idea. They just didn't seem to have an answer for Sale on this occasion. So I'm sure Pat Lam will rectify that. If they do end up meeting at any stage, they will kind of, I'm sure they'll put in a better performance. Moving on to Saturday, and Ollie gave his opinion on Bath and Harlequins. So the game finished 44-33 to Quins. Quins were up 32-18 at half time. Really interesting game. It wasn't the kind of game where Bath, did their normal kind of get into an early lead and then lose the lead and lose the game. Ollie said, a mixture of good battling and some good rugby with some not so great rugby from both teams. He felt that Bath were unlucky in the end, not to get more than 1 point from it. I kind of agree. It was a really interesting game, and I think Harlequins at the moment seem to definitely have this, I don't know, from maybe like a little bit like Wasps from a couple of seasons ago, the attitude of you might score 30 points, but we'll score 46, that kind of thing. I think if I was a Harlequins fan going into, because obviously they have secured top 4 position, I'd be really worried about their defence. I think they do tend to let in a lot of tries, and teams like Bristol, Exeter, and Sale to a degree will obviously punish them. If Bath are able to punish them and score tries, then the top three sides are going to do that as well. So it's really, I think if Harlequins can shore up their defence going into the last few games in preparation for the top 4 kind of playoffs, then that will sort of see them in a better kind of light, I guess, for want of a better word. Really good game. Unlucky for Bath. I think it does mean that Bath are now out of the top 8, so they will have a little bit of work to do. Let's just double check. Yeah, Bath are now sitting in 9th. So if they do joint 8th and 9th on 43 with Wasps. So they do have a little bit of work to do to secure that top 8 finish for the season, which I'm sure is what they are planning to do. Saturday also saw the game between Leicester Tigers and Worcester Warriors. Oh, here we go. All right, let's see what he said. Tigers equals pretty dull game. However well you, as in I guess he means me, think they played, the reality is they struggled to beat the worst team in the league. The team that have only won one all season. Their first one of the season, which was a 1-point win at home to Irish. LOL. Wow, he is such a isn't he? Even from his hangover bed, hangover sofa, he is still dissing my Tigers. I have to disagree with Ollie on that one, to be fair. I thought it was a really good game from Tigers. I think he's forgetting to kind of recognise the fact that over the last few weeks, Worcester have been improving and putting more and more pressure and having better kind of, although they're not getting the results, better performances in the games that they have. And let's not forget, Leicester had just lost, the week before the Challenge Cup final against... Can't remember. I've just blocked it out of my mind. Montpellier. Yeah, it was Montpellier. So, their game was gonna be a little bit off form. And I also noticed the fact that, Tigers did rest quite a few of their first team. Zach Henry was at fullback, McPhillips was at 10. Don't get me wrong, they still had Nadolu and Youngs and Clare and Genji and Wise and Liebenberg and, so I kind of do see Ollie's point, but I also recognise the fact that Worcester are improving week on week and pushing teams all the way. So, Ollie, just get yourself sorted out for next week. Next game on the Saturday was Northampton Wasps, another high-scoring game. Northampton coming out on top 30-25. As I said earlier, Adogwu went off injured. Umunga picked up a yellow card. Really, another really interesting game. Northampton kind of just did enough to kind of warrant the win. Dan Bigger obviously might have, I think, has got cited for a bit of a clear out. He potentially could be in trouble for that one. I'm not 100% sure what the result is. But yeah, just two good teams going at it, really. I think Dave Ribbons had a really good game. He was man of the match. Matt Avesi was putting himself about a bit and got a nice try. I think, again, yeah, like I said, Northampton just had that little bit more in the tank to kind of take the game. I think Wasp will probably be quite disappointed. And as I said, they are currently joint ninth. No, they're in 8th and Bath are in 9th at the moment on the same point. So they need to see an improvement next week to obviously get themselves up the table and into that contention for the Heineken Cup. And then the game, Sweet Mary Jesus and the Orphans. I mean, right, let's just go back. What did Ollie say? He did make a comment on this one. Chiefs equals wow. Is it a Premiership record score? It is a Premiership record score. Putting down a statement to the other top 4 teams. I don't think they just put down a statement. I think it was an absolute freaking killing of Newcastle. Obviously, you can take into consideration Newcastle's selection. I think they left out a few guys, but you can't underestimate the fact that they still had quite a few first-team choices in the team. Carl Ferns was in there, obviously a big ball carrier, a lot of experience. Gary Graham was in there. Toby Flood, you can't get much more experience than a fly half of Toby Flood's calibre. Hodgson at 15, Tate. So, that there are a few boys, they had a lot of experience is basically what I'm saying. But Exeter Chiefs, Sweet, oh my God, they were just on fire. Newcastle did really well in the first half. It was only 31-3 going into half time. But then Exeter just looked fantastic, and Newcastle just did not have an answer to anything that they were doing. Slady was on fire. Vermeulen was just immense. Obviously, Sam Simmons again. Dave Ewers. I mean, they were all, Exeter had Hogg on the bench, and he obviously came on and scored a try. O'Flaherty was really good. I'd be really hopeful that I'm sure O'Flaherty is potentially dual nation, so could be selected for. He must be on Eddie Jones's radar, as must Joe Simmons, I would have thought. And personally, I would even be thinking about Dave Ewers. The guy is quality week in, week out for Exeter. I think it was really, be really interesting to see him in an England shirt. And old Alex Cuthbert got a try as well. He's obviously, like we said, he's back going home to Wales at the end of the season. So, yeah, a fantastic result for Exeter. 74-3, the final result. Ollie's right. That is an absolute statement, but it's also an absolute murder on the field. They were just superb, and it just felt really bad for Newcastle in the end. So, looking ahead to next week's round, with 2 more rounds to go till the end of the season, and Ollie has kind of given me his predictions. Friday night we have Sale at home, I think, to Harlequins. Ollie is going for a Sale victory there. I think it will be Harlequins, but it's going to be a really interesting game because obviously these guys now, both teams have secured their place in the top 4. I guess the question is, Harlequins, do they potentially rest players for the following week's game in the hope that they might go and take the victory, or do they go full bore and put one over Sale on their home ground? It's going to be a tough one. I think possibly it's going to be full bore, and it'll be really interesting to see the two contrasting styles of the teams. So moving ahead to Saturday, obviously, as we already know, sadly, the Gloucester and Bath game has been cancelled. So we'll wait to see what the result is for that one and where the points are shared. Worcester are away at Newcastle. Ollie has gone for Newcastle. I would agree. Actually, no, I wouldn't agree on that because I think Worcester are improving. So I'm going to go for Worcester. They obviously pushed my Tigers close this week and just gone. And I think their form's improving. So I am going to go against Ollie on that one and say Worcester for the victory. Bristol are away at Leicester Tigers. Well, there's only one way this is going. Leicester Tigers at Welford Road. Bristol will obviously want to bounce back. Ollie is going to go for Bristol standard. Hasn't got any faith in the Tigers. What a fool. I think it will be a Tigers victory, but it will be a close encounter, possibly only between 3 and 6 points in the game. Then we move on to Wasps against London Irish at London Irish. Ollie has gone for Irish, and I agree. I think London Irish at home will definitely take that one. Obviously, Wasps will be without a Dogwoo, so that's going to be incredibly difficult game for them. London Irish, no doubt on that one. And then Exeter go to Franklin's Gardens on Sunday. Ollie is tipping Exeter to do Northampton. I agree. Again, are they going to select their full strength team? Are they going to see if the sort of fringe players can play, at that kind of high standard? I would imagine that Northampton will go full noise for that one. But yeah, I think Exeter will still come away from that victory. Just to kind of wrap things up as well, I also had a little thought. Ollie's probably not here because this week I actually took the Fantasy Rugby. I did enjoy texting him saying, 1-0 to me this week. And he did sort of reply, too little, too late, mate. I'm like Exeter, steaming ahead. So, yeah, I mean, he's absolutely right. He is steaming ahead. I can't catch him. But it was a bit of a moral victory. Looking forward to the start of next season's Fantasy Rugby. That brings episode 35 of the Top 2 Inches Rugby podcast to a close. Thank you once again for taking time to listen, to download and subscribe to the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you once again to I Spy Surveys, the go-to specialist survey and inspection company based in Exeter, Devon. Go over, give those guys a check out. They are a fantastic company. We are available on all major platforms such as Anchor, Spotify, YouTube and Apple Podcast. What else is there to say? We are over on Twitter. We're on Insta, so go over, give us a follow, give us a like. You can get the episodes each week in the kind of feed. We'll also be doing some different content, etc., on there. And that's it. Yeah, we'll see you again next week. See you soon. Bye.